Fear of the future, the power of inner silence. How to control your mind and overcome anxiety. Have you ever felt lost in the face of an uncertain future? The fear of the unknown seems to consume our minds, becoming a powerful and paralyzing force. We imagine all possible scenarios, and often anxiety takes over. But what if I told you there is a way to face the future with courage, without being consumed by uncertainty? The power of inner silence may be the key to controlling your mind and overcoming anxiety. In this video, we will explore how Stoic philosophy teaches us to deal with the fear of the future, and how we can transform uncertainty into an opportunity for growth. Through daily practices of emotional self-control, meditation, and deep self-knowledge, we can develop a strong mindset capable of facing any challenge with calm and resilience. Get ready to discover how inner silence can free your mind from fear, helping you live more fully and confidently. Comment below, how has the fear of the future impacted your life? What are the most difficult challenges you face regarding anxiety about the future? The anxiety of the future, how uncertainty affects us. The anxiety of the future, like a shadow, often follows us without us realizing it. As the future approaches, it comes wrapped in uncertainties, and these uncertainties are like a constant fog in our minds, preventing us from clearly seeing what lies ahead. The fear of the unknown is one of the most powerful sources of anxiety. It stems from the feeling that we have no control over what is to come. The human mind, by nature, seeks security and predictability, and when the future presents itself as an open and uncertain field, discomfort grows. This fear of the future is not only a natural response to the unknown, but often an exaggerated reaction to something beyond our control. The problem begins when we let it dominate us, when we allow uncertainty to invade our thoughts and make us feel as though we lack the tools to deal with what lies ahead. But what if we told ourselves that uncertainty can be an ally, an open door to personal growth? Imagine that instead of fighting the fear of the future, you begin to accept it as it is, with resilience and self-confidence. This shift in perspective starts the moment we understand that we cannot control the future, but we have the power to choose how to react to it. Stoic philosophy teaches us exactly this. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, spoke about not fearing what is to come, but learning to deal with it wisely and calmly. When we begin to see uncertainty as a natural part of life, not as a constant threat, our mindset strengthens, and our anxiety about the future begins to lose its power. Accepting the unknown doesn't mean we'll be immune to fear, but over time, we start to see the future with more clarity and confidence, instead of being consumed by it. The fear of the unknown. How to accept the uncertainty of the future. The fear of the unknown is a universal feeling, an old companion that often appears at the doors of our minds when the future seems like a vast, unexplored territory. It arises from the natural desire for control, the desire to know what comes next, and the impossibility of predicting what has not yet happened. This fear can manifest as anxiety, constant worry, and even emotional paralysis. The truth is, we don't know what the future holds, and when we try to control or anticipate everything, we trap ourselves in a distorted reality where uncertainty becomes our enemy. But what if the key to overcoming this fear was precisely to accept uncertainty? Accepting that the future is uncertain doesn't mean giving up on our dreams or stopping planning. In fact, it's quite the opposite. When we accept the unknown and understand that absolute control is not possible, we can begin to act with more freedom and less fear. Stoic philosophy, once again, offers a great lesson. We cannot control everything, but we can control how we respond to what happens to us. Inner silence and conscious acceptance help us see the future as a field of possibilities rather than an imminent threat. By letting go of the idea that we must know everything in advance, we free our minds to act with more confidence and emotional self-control. Accepting uncertainty brings with it a profound freedom, the freedom to live in the present without being enslaved by anxiety about what hasn't happened yet. And that, in itself, is a great victory. Instead of fighting the fear of the future, we learn to work with it, using it as fuel for personal growth. When we accept the future as it is, without trying to force predictions or outcomes, we begin to cultivate a strong and resilient mindset, capable of facing any uncertainty with calm and self-confidence. True freedom, then, lies in opening ourselves to the unknown, knowing that, no matter what happens, we are prepared to deal with it with inner strength. How Stoicism teaches us to deal with the fear of the future. Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to live according to reason and nature, offers a practical approach to dealing with uncertainty and the fear of the future. Stoic philosophers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius understood that life is full of unpredictability, and by trying to control what we cannot, we distance ourselves from true mental freedom. Instead of seeking to ensure a perfect, surprise-free future, Stoicism teaches us to accept what is beyond our reach and act with serenity in the face of what we do not know. By applying Stoic principles, we can learn to transform uncertainty into opportunity and overcome the fear of the unknown. Epictetus used to say, "What is beyond our control should not disturb us." This teaching is crucial when we talk about the fear of the future. By realizing that we cannot control every aspect of life, we free our minds from the burden of anxiety and worry. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our choices, attitudes, and responses. By acting with wisdom and self-control, we can deal with uncertainty more effectively, without being consumed by it. Instead of fearing the future, we learn to act with courage, using each challenge as an opportunity to grow emotionally and strengthen our inner strength. The true freedom that Stoicism offers is the ability to choose our emotional response to what happens to us. The future, with all its uncertainties, does not need to be a source of fear or anxiety. True serenity comes from accepting what we cannot change and taking constant action on what is within our reach. By accepting the unknown and trusting in our ability to respond with balance and clarity, we begin to live with more inner confidence. Thus, the fear of the future dissolves into a strong mindset, where the unknown ceases to be a threat and becomes just another aspect of the journey of personal growth. The art of accepting the future. How to let go of the fear of the unknown. Accepting the future as it is, without trying to shape or anticipate it, is one of the most liberating practices we can adopt in our lives. The fear of the unknown often arises when we try to force the future to fit our expectations. We create imaginary scenarios that fuel our anxiety and, in doing so, project our energy onto something entirely beyond our control. However, the art of accepting the future is not passive resignation, but a conscious act of choice, where we decide to let go of fear and trust in our ability to face any situation with serenity. Inner silence is, without a doubt, the key to cultivating this acceptance. When we find peace in our minds, when we manage to turn off the mental noise filled with frantic thoughts, we begin to realize that the uncertainty of the future does not need to be feared. Instead of clinging to the fear of the unknown, we learn to surrender to the flow of life with confidence. As Marcus Aurelius said, "What is not within your control, let it go. What is within your reach, do with all your dedication and tranquility." Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control the future, but we can decide our attitude toward what is to come. By cultivating inner silence, we gain more clarity to focus on the present, and thus, anxiety about the future begins to fade. True strength lies in embracing uncertainty with courage and confidence. This doesn't mean ignoring the difficulties the future may bring, but it means accepting that we don't know what will happen, and that's okay. Every moment of uncertainty is an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. When we accept the future as it is, without rigid expectations that everything must be a certain way, we create space for true emotional freedom. The mindset of self-respect and emotional self-control allows us to live more lightly, knowing that, no matter what happens, we have the inner strength to face anything that comes our way. Developing a strong mindset. How to overcome the anxiety of the future. The future is an unknown territory, and that can be intimidating. Anxiety arises when we feel unprepared or vulnerable in the face of what is to come. However, it is possible to transform this anxiety into positive energy and use the fear of the future as a driver for growth. The key to this lies in developing a strong mindset, one that allows us to face uncertainty with confidence. To do this, we need to train our minds, like a muscle, to react to the unknown not with fear, but with serenity and conscious action. A strong mindset doesn't emerge overnight. It is built through daily practices that help us strengthen our inner confidence and mental resilience. One of these essential practices is deep self-knowledge. When we can understand where our fears and anxieties come from, we can begin to deconstruct them and reprogram our minds to respond with calm and rationality. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control, our choices, attitudes, and way of reacting. By applying this to the fear of the future, we realize that while we cannot control what will come, we can control how we prepare for it. Furthermore, a strong mindset requires constant practice of self-discipline. This means developing habits that strengthen us mentally, such as meditation, daily reflection, and the practice of inner silence. These habits create the emotional foundation that allows us to overcome the anxiety of the future. The practice of inner silence helps us find clarity in the chaos, allowing our minds to calm down and focus on what truly matters. Through self-control and mental discipline, we cultivate a strong mindset that enables us to face any challenge with confidence, knowing that, no matter what the future brings, we have the inner strength to deal with it calmly and balanced. The importance of the present. How to focus on the now and overcome the fear of the future. The future, by its nature, is an enigma. It is shrouded in fog, distant, uncertain, and while it remains out of our reach, our minds tend to project fears and worries that often never materialize. The anxiety of the future arises from this mental game, where we imagine catastrophic scenarios and live more in what hasn't happened yet than in what is happening now. The present is the only moment we truly possess, but the anxious mind frequently pulls us toward the future, where fear grows. But what if the true key to overcoming the fear of the future lay in deeply connecting with the now? Stoic philosophy has taught us for millennia that the present is the only place where we have control. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, stated that the only way to live fully is by accepting and embracing the present moment. When our mind is constantly tied to the future, fear becomes our reality, and we fail to enjoy the now. The daily practice of inner silence allows us to free our minds from the whirlwind of possibilities that the future presents. By focusing on the present, we take possession of what is truly ours, and in doing so, anxiety diminishes because we are no longer imagining scenarios that do not yet exist. The present moment becomes the only truth, and with it, serenity. An excellent way to cultivate this connection with the present is through mindfulness and meditation exercises. When we are aware of the here and now, we feel the present in our body, in our breath, in our daily actions. Anxiety decreases when we practice this full presence, as we let go of worries about the future and surrender to what we have at hand. By doing so, we begin to realize that, although the future is uncertain, the present is full of possibilities. And by acting consciously and focused on the now, we take one step at a time, with more confidence and self-control, toward the future, without fearing what will come. Mental reprogramming. How to change your view of the future and anxiety. The way we perceive the future has the power to completely shape our present experience. When we let ourselves be dominated by anxiety, our view of the future becomes distorted, creating a scenario of fear and insecurity. But what if, instead of seeing the future as something to be feared, we began to reprogram our minds to see it as an opportunity for growth and evolution? Mental reprogramming is a process of transformation where we challenge the limiting beliefs that keep us paralyzed and replace automatic fear responses with a strong and serene mindset. Reprogramming our minds begins with awareness of our thoughts. Often, we don't even realize how pessimistic and limiting our view of the future can be. When we feed the idea that what comes next will be difficult, uncertain, or challenging, we fuel anxiety. The good news is that we have the power to change this. With techniques of emotional self-control, meditation, and positive visualization, we can transform the thoughts that paralyze us into actions that move us forward. Mental discipline is the key to this reprogramming, where we train the mind to respond to challenges with courage and self-confidence instead of fear. Stoic philosophy is a powerful ally in this process. Epictetus teaches us that, although we cannot control external events, we can control how we react to them. By applying this principle to anxiety about the future, we begin to realize that we don't need to fear the unknown. Instead, we can add value to our journey, recognizing that even in the most difficult situations, there is potential for learning and growth. When we change our view of the future, we begin to see each challenge as an opportunity for personal development and mental strengthening. Mental reprogramming allows us to create a new narrative about the future, a story where anxiety loses its power and self-confidence flourishes. The power of self-knowledge, how to understand your fears and overcome them. The fear of the future doesn't arise out of nowhere. It is fueled by unresolved thoughts and internal doubts that we often fail to recognize. Deep self-knowledge is the key to understanding the roots of fear and transforming it into something we can control. When we can identify where our anxiety comes from and what has fed it over time, we begin to deconstruct the perception of insecurity that accompanies us. Self-knowledge is the process of looking within, questioning our fears, and finding the answers that were within us all along. By knowing our own internal doubts, we can begin to challenge the limiting beliefs that keep us trapped in fear. Often, anxiety arises from constant internal criticism, the need for external approval, and the desire to control everything around us. When we begin to observe and question these patterns, we can free ourselves from the pressure that causes anxiety. Stoicism, with its focus on controlling the mind, teaches us that by understanding the nature of our fears, we can choose how to react. Epictetus, for example, reminds us that it is not the events themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. By understanding our own reactions, we take control of our minds, seeing the future with more clarity and confidence. Self-knowledge is not a destination, but a continuous journey of internal exploration. It requires patience and self-compassion, as we often discover unresolved fears or old insecurities that have never been confronted. But it is precisely this process of facing and understanding our fears that makes us stronger. When we can look at our fears head-on, without judging or denying them, we transform anxiety into a tool for growth. Instead of being consumed by the uncertainty of the future, we use self-knowledge to act with confidence, knowing that, no matter what happens, we have the inner strength to overcome any challenge. Anxiety as an opportunity, how to use the fear of the future to your advantage. Anxiety about the future is often seen as an enemy to be fought, a shadow that looms over us, preventing us from moving forward. But what if, instead of opposing it, we used anxiety as an opportunity to strengthen and grow? The fear of the future, when recontextualized, can become a motivating force. It doesn't need to be a mental prison, but a catalyst for action. When we understand that anxiety is merely a natural response to uncertainty, we can transform it into fuel for making more conscious decisions and acting with greater wisdom. Instead of being consumed by the fear of the unknown, we can harness anxiety to focus on the present and take actions that help us move forward with confidence. Stoicism teaches us that action is the response to fear. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that all difficulties can be transformed into opportunities. Every time we feel anxiety about the future, we have the chance to ask ourselves, what can I do now to better prepare? Instead of being paralyzed, the fear of the future offers us the opportunity to act proactively, reinforcing our self-confidence and guiding us toward continuous personal development. The key to using anxiety to our advantage is changing our perception of it. Instead of seeing it as something negative, we can begin to view it as a sign that something important is coming, something that requires our attention and preparation. The fear of failure or making mistakes is a reflection of our anxiety about the future, but it is also an invitation to personal evolution. Every challenge, every fear, is an opportunity to learn, improve, and grow. Thus, anxiety ceases to be a limiting force and becomes a source of power, propelling us to act with courage, intelligence, and mental resilience. When we begin to see the fear of the future as a chance for development, it loses its power to paralyze us and becomes a positive force that drives us to action. How to boost your self-confidence to face the uncertainty of the future. The fear of the future often stems from a lack of confidence in our ability to handle what is to come. When we feel insecure, anxiety sets in, and we start to believe that we won't be able to face the challenges ahead. However, self-confidence is a skill that can be developed, and it is essential for facing the uncertainty of the future with serenity and determination. The more we believe in our ability to adapt and overcome, the less anxiety about the unknown affects us. Inner confidence doesn't mean the absence of fear, but the certainty that we can handle any situation that arises. To boost your self-confidence, start with deep self-knowledge. When we know who we are, what we value, and what our strengths are, we are better equipped to face uncertainty with confidence. Self-acceptance is essential for building this confidence. By stopping comparing ourselves to others and respecting our own limits, we begin to strengthen our self-esteem and realize that we don't need to be perfect to be strong. Stoicism, by teaching us to accept what we cannot control and act with wisdom in what is within our reach, helps us build a strong and resilient mindset capable of facing the future with courage and wisdom. Furthermore, one of the greatest drivers of self-confidence is action. When we face small challenges and see the results of our actions, we begin to realize that we are capable of more than we imagined. Every step taken, even if small, is a confirmation of our ability to deal with uncertainty. Don't wait for confidence to appear out of nowhere. It grows as you act. Over time, self-confidence becomes a natural reflection of our experience, and anxiety about the future diminishes. By strengthening your inner confidence, you not only prepare yourself better for the unknown but also become more resilient, knowing that you have the power to transform any challenge into an opportunity. The power of the now. How to overcome the anxiety of the future and focus on the present. Anxiety about the future is, in many cases, a reflection of being disconnected from the present, traveling to a future that often never arrives. The fear of the unknown arises when our mind becomes obsessed with what hasn't happened yet, feeding a cycle of constant worry. The key to overcoming this anxiety and facing the uncertainty of the future lies in the power of the now. By bringing our attention to the present moment, we can deconstruct anxiety, which is largely a mental creation of what is yet to come but does not yet exist. Living in the now is a powerful antidote to the fear of the future. The practice of mindfulness or full attention teaches us to focus on what is happening now, on what we can control in this moment. The now is the only time we truly possess. Living in the present means letting go of the fear of the future, not by ignoring its possibilities, but by recognizing that only what we do now has real power. Inner silence is essential to achieving this state. By connecting with our breath, by taking a moment to observe without reacting to thoughts about the future, we begin to train our minds to return to the present, where we can act with clarity and wisdom without being consumed by fear. Stoicism teaches us that true mental peace comes from accepting the present without worrying excessively about the future. As Epictetus said, "It is not the events that disturb us, but our interpretation of them." By applying this principle, we begin to realize that we don't need to anticipate the future with anxiety, as the present is where our true strength lies. When we focus on the now, we make more conscious decisions, more grounded in who we are at the moment, instead of reacting automatically to fears of the future. This daily practice of being present is the path to strengthening our self-confidence and freeing ourselves from the prison of the fear of the future. How Stoic philosophy can teach us to face the fear of the future with courage. The fear of the future is something we all face at some point, but the way we respond to it makes all the difference. While many of us struggle against uncertainty with anxiety and constant worries, Stoic philosophy offers a transformative perspective. Stoicism teaches us that the only thing we can truly control is our response to life's challenges. This includes accepting the future with courage instead of fearing it. Through the teachings of Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and other Stoic thinkers, we understand that the fear of the future doesn't need to dominate us. Instead, we can face the unknown with serenity and inner strength. Stoic philosophy proposes a practical and straightforward approach to the uncertainty of the future. Instead of focusing on things we cannot control, the Stoics encourage us to focus on what we can change, our attitude and emotional response. By accepting uncertainty and dealing with the fear of the future with calm and rationality, we can learn to live in peace, regardless of the difficulties that arise. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Life is not bad, it is only our mind that interprets it that way." By applying this wisdom, we can understand that the reality of the future will be what we choose to make of it, with courage and wisdom. The true strength that comes from Stoicism lies in the ability to act with courage, even in the face of the unknown. Instead of being paralyzed by anxiety about what might happen, The Stoic chooses to face the future with serenity, knowing that, no matter what occurs, they have the self-control and mental resilience to handle the situation. The daily practice of Stoicism, with its emphasis on controlling the mind, prepares us for any eventuality, providing inner strength and confidence. The fear of the future becomes then, not a prison, but an opportunity for growth and overcoming, where courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. Now that you know the tools and practices to face the uncertainty of the future, it's time to put everything into action. Inner silence, deep self-knowledge, and the teachings of Stoic philosophy offer a clear and powerful path to overcoming the fear of the future and living with more confidence. By cultivating emotional self-control and mental resilience, you not only prepare yourself for the unknown, but become stronger in the face of any challenge life presents. Remember, we cannot control what is to come, but we can control how we react to it. True freedom comes from accepting uncertainty and acting with courage and wisdom. Now, make it happen. Apply the practices we discussed today and observe how your mindset begins to transform. The fear of the future loses its power when you connect with your inner strength and confidence. Comment below. What will you start applying in your life today to reduce anxiety about the future? Subscribe to the channel for more videos on how to transform your mind and overcome challenges with serenity. Remember, the future is in your hands. Transform your life now.